Well, hello and welcome to the very first episode, a bit of a trial run of brand new Jiu-Jitsu podcast, because of course the world needed more Jiu-Jitsu podcasts, especially done by two middle-aged men. But we are here, myself, Hywel Teague, joined by Matt Benyon, and we have decided to call this podcast Unknown Pressures. And make of that what you will. The title can mean many things. But the idea of this podcast is that we're going to talk about all things grappling, be it professional jiu-jitsu events, training. We both have a lot of industry experience, so we'll be talking a lot of stuff about that too, about the business and about the behind the scenes goings on. But given that we're recording this about 4 or 5 days after CJI 2, which just went down last weekend in Las Vegas, kind of makes sense that this first episode should be about CGI 2, right, man?
Yes, definitely. It's like the biggest thing that's happened in the last couple of weeks anyway, in terms of grappling. Yeah.
It was big. Okay, so just a couple of stats and facts first, just to throw it out there, because I think everybody probably, or everybody, most people probably watch the show. But I just get these out there so we're all clear. Over $2.7 million in prize money awarded, and the highest prize in the history of women's grappling, $100,000 to the tournament winner.
Mm.
So, first of all, I guess just initial reactions, overall thoughts about CGI 2. What did you think?
I mean, I didn't watch it live because it didn't kick off until like 1 or 2 a.m. or something in the UK. Um, but I woke up on, was it Sunday morning? Yeah, it was Sunday morning. And I tried to like avoid spoilers and I put YouTube on my TV and it was still going.
Oh, wow.
So I was like,
Yeah, it was a
holy
long one.
shit,
Yeah.
that's been on for 7 hours or something. It was definitely a momentous event. Like, just the prize money itself, completely bonkers. Just completely and utterly bonkers. Like, jiu-jitsu's gone from paying to compete in like a rundown sports hall to 2.7 million in like the last few years, it feels like. Um, I couldn't help. I mean, I guess we'll get to it later, but just so much controversy around aspects of the show, justified or not. But yeah, whatever kind of people think about it, it was definitely a kind of yet another sea change, I guess, in our industry.
It was special for sure, right? And you're right. There was a lot of controversy coming out of the event. A couple things off the top of my head. There was, of course, the final result. B team beating New Wave in the final. For many
Yeah,
people, that was controversial. There
yeah,
were the stoppages on day one, the taps that maybe weren't or were
yeah,
not submissions, with Giancarlo
yeah.
Bodoni and Gio Martinez both losing via leg lock, but they both of them claiming that they didn't tap. There was the controversy about day one being boring, and as a result, waking up on day two to find out that they suddenly decided they were going to give $50,000 submission bonuses for every single submission to try and
Because
incentivize
a
the
million,
people
a
to fight
million
more.
wasn't enough. A
Apparently
million
not.
wasn't enough.
So not without its controversy for sure, but I do agree with you. It was a special moment. It was, and for me, and of course, I'm biased. I was very involved with the event leading up to this over the last couple of months, doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And yes,
Mm,
I was on the broadcast. I was there live,
yeah,
pit side, part of the team that put this together. Of course, I'm going to favor the event. I can see it objectively and see the criticisms for what they were, but I still stand firmly by the statement that I think that it was another landmark moment for professional jiu-jitsu. Now,
yeah,
what comes next, we'll talk about that a little bit later. I think we should get into the details of the event first, but for me,
yeah.
it was freaking awesome. But let me ask you, I'm going
Well,
to put you on the spot.
yeah,
New Wave versus B Team.
yeah.
Do you think it was the right call?
So, yeah. So, if I remember correctly, New Wave won 3 out of 5 matches, right?
Correct.
I kind of feel like that would put it in New Wave's favor. I mean, I understand. How did they make the other decision then? It was because there was no submission, so they went to the winner of the final match. Is that it?
So it was five double
Oh,
eliminations.
and the points were tied. And the points were
Yeah,
tied.
it was five double eliminations, which are not scores. They are judged and scored. So they are draws, excuse me. Everybody thought if there's no submission, it's a draw. It's sub only. It's not. If there
No,
was a
behind the
double
scenes they were
elimination,
judging it. Yeah.
there were three ringside judges scoring it MMA style. So they would score each match 10-9, 10-9, 10-8, whatever they thought it would be. And you're right, that New Wave won 3 out of 5, with B Team taking 2. The thing was that New Wave won every match 10-9, unanimously. And then B Team's first match was 10-9, but their second match that they won was 10-8, which led to the entire duel being a draw because it was
Yeah.
47, 47, 47, 47, which is rare and definitely caught a lot of people off guard. I'll be
Yeah.
honest, including by myself. But I was
Yeah.
genuinely stunned and shocked and surprised and maybe caught up in the moment. But I didn't, originally, I didn't think B Team were going to win. I thought it was New
Yeah.
Waves.
Yeah.
However, I went back and I looked at it and I watched the matches in question a little bit more closely. I see how it happened and I see how the draw was scored. And then the criteria was whoever won the last match earned the win for the duel if it was a draw. So that's how B Team won. They basically, it was a draw and then they won on criteria. But there were a lot of unhappy people there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's pretty much the promoter's worst nightmare at that point. Like when it comes down to a very
Oh,
small
yeah.
rule technicality, it's horrific.
Well,
Especially with so
Craig
much money on the
was,
line. Holy shit!
yeah, and Craig kind of foresaw it, I guess, because he was not even there when it happened. Like he made a point of, he was dipping in and out of the event throughout. You know, he would kind of stick around, then he'd disappear. He was doing that all weekend, but he was nowhere to be seen when Bean Team went up against New Wave. And I think he
Yeah,
made the right call because I can just imagine those guys would have been on top of him the moment that the result would have been announced. And that's
I
exactly
mean,
what they did. Like Danaher
yeah,
and the
yeah,
New Wave guys, they came around. They were immediately at the judges' table demanding to see the scores. And
yeah,
the general sort of consensus was we got robbed.
yeah.
So funny story, they ended up taking all the judges back into a room backstage after the event.
At
And
gunpoint,
it
yeah,
pretty much, yeah. And it happened to be the same room that, well, the commentators and the judges were sharing it. So we had all our stuff hanging in there and basically a cloakroom. And I had to get my stuff because I was leaving. And there
ooh,
was just so many people hanging up outside this door. I'm like, what's going on? I go in quietly. And the first words I hear are the cold, the cold tones of John Danaher saying to the assembled judges and officials and so on, saying, "You fucked us.
oh my god,
You fucked us."
it
And
sounds like my
I
worst nightmare.
I dipped in, grabbed my shit, dipped straight back out again, and I was like, "Oof, I
Yes,
do not want to be there
yeah.
for that conversation." A bit
I
fear,
mean,
fear the officials though they pushed back and
yeah,
respectfully, and they told them how they came to the decision, and they said that we'll certainly go back and watch it and stuff, but
mm.
there was no fix. That's the thing that people are saying. People are saying it was a robbery.
No, no, of course not. Of course not. It would be dumb to do that, such a thing. It's not smart. In a weird way, like, although Craig kind of and what he's doing kind of leapfrogged a lot of the stuff that I've been doing and, me and my team have been doing as part of Polaris. He's like ahead of us in terms of prize money, in terms of the sheer size of the event. But in terms of like managing an event, I'm watching him go through all the shit that we went through years ago. Like, you know, the rule set, the stress about managing an event, trying to engage everyone who complains on social media and losing because, like, you'll literally never win. He literally said, "Here's another million," and everyone's like, "Nah, this is bullshit." Like, you cannot win if you try to please everybody. And it doesn't surprise me at all that he made himself scarce because I'm the same.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be anywhere near fighters. I don't want to be any people that have lost matches, close matches. I don't want to be anywhere near any of these guys around the event because it's so difficult to deal with,
Mm.
you know. And I especially don't want to look at social media because, you know, whatever you're worried about is inevitably happening. So, yeah.
Well, Craig is used to taking second place in jiu-jitsu,
Mm,
but he never loses on social media. And
that's
I
true.
think this is the first time that I felt that there was a genuine backlash against Craig as a result of the event, because people were
Yeah.
complaining about the event. And of course, he's so closely linked. It's literally his name is on the event that he felt very personally attacked. And it's very
Mm.
interesting to note that even what you said, it's impossible task to try and appease everybody. It's literally, you cannot do it.
Well, I mean, Polaris is like a hive mind. We don't really have a front man, which sometimes we regret because there's no like if Craig needs to get a bit of news out about the show, he just goes on his Instagram and tells everyone because he's the focus of the show. So that's a positive. But when everything's going great, it's great, and then when everything is shit, he's directly receiving the shit like straight into his face. So we kind of stay a little bit anonymous, and it's definitely a different way of doing things. But in times like this, you know, the there's no one person receiving all of the negative feedback, which is definitely a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
I do
most
feel
people
sorry for
don't.
him.
Yeah, for sure. But I think most people probably aren't even aware of who is the team behind Polaris. It's quite
Yeah, it's a
opaque
bit
in that sense
mysterious.
because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's more about the brand than it is about any personality,
The
right?
brand and the fighters, yeah, that's kind of been a
Yeah.
conscientious decision, and also just I think like Americans and Australians versus Brits, I guess, we're a little bit less, less about the limelight. Um, I do feel bad for Craig though, and I feel like it highlighted a lot of the negative aspects of the jiu-jitsu community. You know,
It certainly did. It certainly did. Well, just the next thing, I guess, our overall thoughts and initial reactions, was yes, there was the $1 million team tournament, the quintet hybrid, but then there was also the $100,000 women's tournament with the four women and Helena Creva beating Sarah Galvao in the final to win $100,000. So pretty incredible that you had two teenagers competing in the
yeah,
final, and Helena, who I think is 18, walks off with a cool $100,000. That
it's
is
wild,
pretty
absolutely bonkers.
spectacular, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, biggest paying women's tournament ever.
And there were some complaints about day one about lack of action, but then Sarah Galvao and Anna Carolina Vieira come out and they have one of the best matches of the entire tournament and proved to everybody that they're
Yeah,
just as entertaining.
at like 2 a.m. as well.
It was pretty late. Yeah, I forget what
I'm
time it
pretty
was, but
sure
it
it
was
was, wasn't it?
very late.
You were on your like seventh straight hour of commentating. Yeah,
Yeah, pretty. I mean, it all blurred into one, but it was definitely past midnight. It was late. Yeah, but they did. They came out, and man, Sarah, she took. I mean, Anna Carolina's an ADCC champion. That doesn't happen by mistake. She's a veteran
yeah,
black belt with multiple world and world no-gi titles to her name. And Sarah Galvao came out and just looked absolutely fearless. Took it to
yeah.
her, threw her around. It was really, really impressive to watch. And then the final, it kind of I think people expected it to shake out that way. Sarah was definitely the wild card, but she made it through into the final against Helena. Um,
Hmm.
it's the second time that they fought this year. They fought once in the gi and pans earlier
I did
this year
actually
with
see that.
Sarah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Sarah won by
Sarah won.
points.
Yeah,
Yeah, she passed. Maybe twice actually in the same match, but she passed. But this time in no gi, we know Helena's got the edge. Sarah's still kind of new to the no gi game. She's still figuring that bit out. But I just can't help but think it was an awesome result. But this isn't the last time these guys are going to fight, right?
definitely not. Yeah.
What did you make
I
of?
don't know if.
We know how good Helena is, but what did you make of Sarah?
Yeah, really good. Really good. I mean, she's been like hovering around on the edges of being amazing for quite a while. And obviously, the school and her dad and her mum and everything. So, yeah, it's just scary how good these kids are now. Really scary. I mean, even in my gym, we have kids, not, obviously they're not Sarah Galvao or Helena level, but they're extremely good.
For me,
Yeah.
the interesting thing was that the way that Sarah moves looks so much like her dad when he was younger. That
Yeah.
sort of amazing dynamic passing, the sort of the very fluid, dynamic movement, side to side, even the passing style. She loves to stack. She puts the pressure on. It was like watching a young Galvao. I thought that was so fun.
How do you think? How do you feel that, given how good the women were? I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but what do you think about no bonuses being offered for them, or more like the
Yeah,
general kind of, basically the men didn't really do. Oh, can I even say that? I don't know. There was a lot more men, I guess, so there was a lot of there was more chance for things not to go great. But the small, it was only four girls. No, it was only
four,
four.
four.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah,
But all four of them just brought it. So
they certainly did. And I don't know. You could talk about lots of different things. You could say, for example,
I
that
don't I don't really want to criticize just because the what he and the team did was so incredible. I don't
right.
think it's the right time to just pick apart. Which I noticed like a lot of people were doing, and even if some of the things that they were saying were somewhat justified or well thought out or well intentioned, it's not the time to do it.
No, but there's nothing wrong with valid comments if it's done in a constructive way. And I saw people complaining. There was some talk. Some people were kind of like saying, "Well, how come the women only got 100,000?" Well, I was
Mm.
thinking about it this way: you had to win two matches to get 100,000,
Hmm.
whereas any man on a winning team would have had to fight probably 3 to 4
Well,
times over that weekend, no,
yeah.
possibly more. But there was no maximum number of matches, but there was, certainly they'd have to fight at least once or twice over the 2 day tournament, and for a share of 1 million, so they would walk away with two hundred
That's true.
thousand. So
That's true.
for two matches for 100 grand versus a guy who maybe had to fight, let's say 3, 4 times over 2 days to go away with 200 grand, it kind of levels it out for the work done for me. Uh, but I just criticism aside, man, baby steps,
Yeah.
like this is still huge. Like a
Yeah.
hundred
Yeah. Yeah.
thousand dollars for an 18-year-old girl to go in there and to win a really amazing bracket like that. It's only going to
Mm.
get better. This is just the beginning. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it's a very tricky subject because there's a lot of kind of knee-jerk reactions, and then it just doesn't translate well to social media because there's a lot to talk about, and people can't be bothered to have conversations longer than a minute on social. Even like
Yeah.
Kendall wrote a very well-reasoned post that included plenty of praise for Craig and the team, and she was just like crucified, and now she's deleted it. So it's like even a well-reasoned take is not taken the correct way.
I got a missed call from Kendall last night. I think it
Yeah,
was probably around the time that she deleted it, actually. I was already in bed
probably.
because she's eight
Yeah,
hours behind me. But yeah,
yeah.
she gave me a call. We often discuss this kind of stuff. And I saw her post. I missed the backlash. And I'm not surprised that she decided to just delete it and move on, because it doesn't matter how nuanced or well thought out your social media take is, that
Mm.
people are idiots. They don't read it properly, and it doesn't matter what you're trying to communicate. They will only respond with their most retarded feelings, which,
Yeah,
so,
it's just
yeah.
it's just the headline reading, and I guarantee you, 97% of the people that looked at her post didn't realize it was a screenshot of Jasmine Roche's post.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So let's go on then. Do you want to talk about any specific matches? Do you want to talk about the final match, or what do you want to do?
Um, a couple of things stood out to me. I thought the Europeans did amazing.
Yes.
I thought, watching Owen Jones like survive against an absolutely like incensed Kynan was amazing. He's 66 kilos. What's Kynan, 99 plus or
He was under 99, but yeah,
under
he's
99?
big.
Still.
Yeah, yeah.
And how many
33
times he won
kilogram weight difference.
ADCC? Like twice?
Four.
Four times. Yeah, crazy. That is absolutely crazy because, I can barely survive against somebody 30 kilos heavier than me in the gym. So to do it on that stage, wild. Taylor had, whether Bodoni tapped or not, I'm kind of in the camp that maybe he didn't, But the fact that he had a heel hook locked dead to rights, I mean, he could have probably done some serious damage. So that was super impressive. I really
Yeah,
like Marcin Maciulewicz. I thought he looked like a fucking badass, and I want to
yeah.
have him on Polaris and give him like matches where he gets to be a badass. Um, Weirdly, there's like one thing stuck in my head. You're better with details than I am. I have the memory of a goldfish, but Atos were down a submission. What was that in? What?
No, it wasn't against the Euros. They went
No,
to
no.
five
Day two,
double
maybe it was day two.
eliminations. Day two, yes, they were down a submission to New Wave. Luke
New
Griffith
Wave.
had tapped out Diego Pato with a rear naked
Right, right.
choke, and then Felipe
Yeah, and
Pena
then
came in and
Penna
armbarred him.
came out. That to me was the almost like, I mean, I might be misremembering, but for me, that was the most iconic moment of like that event in as it relates to teams, because
Mm.
the team was down a point, and if it had been draws from then on out, they would have lost. And then who did he armbar?
He armbarred Luke Griffith.
Oh, okay, yeah, of course. When it's there,
Immediately after Luke tapped out Pato, he came in,
yeah,
tapped out Luke Griffith, and
that
then
was
they
fucking
they
amazing.
sicked Dorian on him.
Yeah, yeah. But when the moment that he got the armbar, you could see like the joy and like relief in his eyes, and and everything that he was doing. And for me, that was like that is the appeal of the team event, because he's got one back for the team and he's leveled the playing field. But that's another thing where I feel like CGI kind of messed up a little bit. See, because Craig wanted to do the really cool WWE entrances, which I understand the appeal of. And when he said that, I was like, fuck yeah, that's going to be really cool. What they missed is having the team on the side of the mat, because
Mm.
that's we did quintet, we did the first quintet, we took Team Polaris with Craig to Tokyo, and seeing the team like going back to each other after every match, everything, every major thing that's happened, you look over to the team, they're all like grabbing each other's shoulders and jumping around. That was missing. And I
Right.
feel like if Atos had been all on the side of the mat and Penna had come back, got the armbar, jumped up, that would have been pandemonium. The whole team going crazy, hugging each other. That's what I wanted to see, and it wasn't there. So,
I agree with you
um,
actually about that, and that was a purely logistical problem because there is so limited sort of real estate and space around the pit. As you've
mhm.
noticed, like the VIPs, you went to the first one and you saw it. The VIPs are
Ah,
sat literally, they can touch the top of the pit,
I
and there
thought I
is
was a
very
VIP until I got there, and then I realized there was another level of VIP just completely blocking my view.
yeah, not that important.
Yeah.
But to imagine you got a line of five athletes in there as well, it's only going to make it impossible to navigate that area. So that's why they didn't have the guys lined up before or after the matches.
Mm.
But yeah, I agree that it would have been great to have the sort of that team moment after a monumental
That's
win
the
like
whole
that, where
appeal.
we're still in the game, that the shared
Mm.
emotion for sure. I'm going to
Mm.
go back to just what you were talking about there for a moment about the Europeans, because when the draw came out, the brackets, and they had Team Europe against Team Atos, man, I said to many people, I said, that's not a bad first round for Europe. And it's never going to be good when you go up against a heavy hitter like Atos, who are one of the favorites. But I looked at the lineup and I think they can hang. Maybe they're not
Yeah.
going to win,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be a
Yeah.
walkover. And it really
Yeah.
wasn't, because they had
No.
Owen Jones, Pavel Javorsky, they had Charles Negremont, they had Paul Adia, and they had Marcin Matulovic, like I said.
Mhm.
Now, those are four really capable guys, and they had three
Five.
finishers. I felt
Mhm.
five, and they had three really capable finishers. In Owen as a finisher, Pavel as a finisher, and Marcin as a finisher. Charles is a just absolute workhorse, really hard to beat, and Paul is extremely solid veteran. Way the matches shook out, it ended up being five double eliminations, and it's actually interesting to note as well that
Shit. Yeah.
that Europe actually won the decision against it was Pavel against Lucas Hulk. He won that one on
Mhm.
decision, and
Mhm.
then the rest of them all went in the way of Atos. But there was never one match where it was like, oh, that guy got smoked. I think that
Not
maybe
at
the only
all.
one you could say was Felipe Pena definitely dominated Marcin, but Marcin wasn't close to tapping. It wasn't like a 10-8
No,
round. So
no.
it was a lot of fun. And Faris, Coach Faris of Europe, one of your number one fans,
Love that guy.
he was kind of pissed because he really wanted Daisy Fresh first round. There was some chatter online. You know, I think they were trying to set it up for the fans as much as anything. That could have been a lot of fun. Maybe the bracket would have been a
Mm.
lot different, but I'm not mad about it. Owen had his moments, you know, hanging 8 minutes with Kynan. He can walk out of there with his head up, held up high. So I think it kind of worked out, right?
Yeah, I think it was good for sort of European jiu-jitsu in general.
Yes.
In a way, in a way, it makes our lives easier with Polaris because at least all the guys that were on CJI now, we are their names are much bigger, so we can, if we want to fly like an American in, they're going to know who we're talking about. You know,
Right.
like next year we want to make more. We want to help to build the UK and European scene more. Um, and one of the best ways to do that is to have like an American, like some international name, and then a British or a European foil to put them up against and see how it goes. You know, that's easier to sell now after CGI.
Much. And
Yeah,
you mentioned him earlier as well, Taylor versus Bogdoni. And whether you agree or disagree with the tap, I disagree. I don't think it was a tap. I don't think it should have been stopped. Just the
no,
sheer fact that Taylor was able to get there and to
yeah,
rip a submission on Bogdoni, two-time ADCC champion, I definitely think that was significant. So, you know, I still think there's an asterisk against that win on the record. But for Taylor,
incredible achievement. Yeah,
yeah, it's still it's not a bad showing for him.
I
So good for
saw a
his stock.
brief clip of Big John, and if I
Mm,
remember, he sort of basically said, if you're locked dead to rights in a heel hook, you don't do anything that vaguely resembles a tap because you know the ref's going to be all over it, which kind of makes sense because it was on, and his hand sort of came up and like made impact, then moved back a little bit, and you know I totally understand the confusion,
Hey,
but
the
yeah, massive
referees are
respect
trained
to
to look out
Taylor.
for that stuff. So yeah, not a surprise why they stopped it for sure. Um, I want to talk about Dorian Olivares because
Yeah.
that guy, he was one of my best of the best out of this
Hmm.
event. He had some incredible matches.
Looks like
He
he had a tough paper
beats
round.
well, he beat Taylor Perman after the Bodoni tap. Dorian came out and Dorian ran through Taylor's guard like again
Yep.
and again and again. He is just
You
non-stop, that
mentioned
kid.
you mentioned on the broadcast that he had a folk style background. What's the difference between folk style and I don't know freestyle?
Freestyle is international Olympic wrestling rules, and folk style is basically American college rules. There is a on high school, I guess, as well, that kind of thing. It's a slightly different point system where you get things like escape points and things like that, whereas freestyle is much
But
more
it's the
about
same like full body, head to toe, you know, double legs and all that
yeah.
stuff.
It's just the point structure is different, so it does affect the style of wrestling. There tends to be a lot more emphasis on mat wrestling and escapes. Whereas Olympic wrestling, there's a much more emphasis on the takedowns and the turnovers. So that's the main difference between freestyle and folk style.
Right.
But I mean, the thing is, Dorian's a multi-sport athlete because he's preparing to become a professional MMA fighter. So he's got high level wrestling,
Mm.
he's black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's also boxing as well because he's going to go into the cage at some point. But his style of jiu-jitsu, it's that term, that wrestle jitsu. It's that hybrid style of
Yeah.
grappling. And he came
It's
out
fun to
and
watch.
he came out, he showed his top game against Taylor, just blew through his guard, you know, couldn't get the finish, but sealed that win very comfortably. And then he did the
Mm.
same thing against Felipe Pena. And
Mm.
fair enough, Felipe Pena just had a match against Luke Griffith, and you know he submitted Luke, but then he was not fresh, and a fresh Dorian came in. But that was the 66 kilogram guy going up against
Yeah.
a guy who weighed, I think, 103 kilograms, something like that.
Crazy.
And he fucking brutalized him. Like,
Yeah.
two of the judges gave it a 10-8, and one judge gave it a 10-7.
Oh
That's
shit.
how much of a beatdown it was. And this is multiple-time ADCC champion Felipe Pena we're talking about. It's not just some random
Mm.
heavyweight. And
Mm.
Dorian, 19-year-old fucking pitbull, comes out and just absolutely ragdolled him. Threw him around, just was running all over him. Like, it was incredible to witness, to be honest. It was that, literally, this word gets thrown around, awesome, but it was that moment of awe of just like, I
Mm.
am in awe of what this guy is doing to this guy. It's just so cool to see.
I think because I was kind of watching it the next day and scanning through it, I think I watched it, but it didn't have the same impact on me. I think that was just after Penna got the armbar, yeah?
Correct.
So I was probably like, holy shit. And then, okay, I better get back to work. And then like, I might have missed that, but I was definitely impressed by him.
Yeah. And
Um,
then he had a great match against Ethan as well, where, for the first 4 or 5 minutes of that match, he
yep,
pretty
yep,
much did
yep.
the same thing, was just blasting past the guard and just all over him, and then got stuck in close guard and slowed down. But for me, Dorian was the MVP of Team New Wave, even though Bodoni got multiple submissions. I still think that the Dorian was the standout for me.
He was at B Team before, right?
He was. Interesting
Mhm.
story about that. Him and his father left under a very, very dark cloud. There was an altercation, or there was
Yeah.
a confrontation and an incident, let's say, and they were basically said, "Hey, we don't think this is the right environment for you," and they said, "Fine, fuck you, see you later," and they went to New Wave across town instead.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
nice little history. Just added drama between the New Wave
It
B
didn't
team
it
kind
didn't
of thing.
feel too like bad blood, but it's interesting to know
It didn't.
stuff like that. No.
It didn't, and I got to say, the actual vibe at the event was very cordial. Danaher was up until his team got screwed. He was in a great mood. Before that, he was very unhappy with the officiating, the stoppage, and the result. But leading into the event, John was in an amazing mood, and
He's a professional.
was he is, and he was actually excited to compete in this event as well,
Mm.
and it showed, and he was very friendly and on good terms with especially Nicky Ryan and a couple of the other members of the team, but
That's good.
the bad blood is definitely hyped up. I think that a lot of that has kind of just melted away with time.
I guess the humor, Craig is a good the humor is a good kind of disarming tool, isn't it?
It is. It is. There's another guy actually I wanted to give a shout out to, and he's one of your guys, one of your sponsored
Kenta.
athletes, Kenta. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you say? What do you think about Kenta?
Yeah, it was amazing. What was it Carl Beam first of all? I can't
Yeah, yeah. He
yeah.
came in, the Giant Slayer had to go up against the
Yeah.
heavyweight. Yeah,
Super impressive. It cracked me up when Carl was like doing something with his feet and basically up kicking Kenta, and Kenta was like,
yeah,
skadoosh, and gave him a little slap. I like that.
yeah. Kenta's a dog, and
Yeah, really
I
good.
really, I mean, he showed some great techniques. He had that beautiful takedown against Kyle Bain, that Kuchigari. And
Yeah.
just moments after I said, "Oh, look out for Kenta's judo," so I feel pretty good about that. But then he had that. Not sure if you saw it, but he had the leg lock on Nicky Rod, right? Everybody's
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about
Saw that. Saw
the
that.
the, the unusual grip that he took, the
The
hog
cock
lock.
lock. Oh, the
Yeah,
hog lock. Yeah.
yeah. And but that dude, that leg lock was on. Like, it was
Yeah.
100% on. He went
Any
full.
normal human would have tapped probably.
Yeah, he
Mm.
went full belly down on that straight ankle from the 50-50. And,
Yeah.
Nicky Rod's 3 weight classes bigger than him, or 2 weight classes, I guess, in this tournament. And you're right. Any other human being probably would have tapped, but
Yeah.
it was cool to witness. Kenta, I think,
He was
you
really
know,
good. Yeah. Yeah.
especially after the last CJI when he went out first round and everybody kind of forgot about him. This was a good moment for him, right?
No, he's been chipping away. I mean, he's on the next Polaris for Team Australasia, and I feel like he'll do better in that rule set because he's hard to beat.
Yeah.
We can come back to that later because I do want to talk about because we went through the pain of sub only, so we changed things. And then I'm looking. He's doing Scramble Camp for us in October in Spain, which I can't wait. You might be there or you might not be there.
Looking at the flights,
Yeah.
yeah. After the leg lock camp in Malaga, Spain earlier this year, I'm definitely interested to go to the Scramble one as well. And you guys got some very interesting names in this one too.
Mm.
Quick rundown, who you got? I know you got Imanari is going to be there. You've
Imanari's
got
coming.
Kenta, you've got the Polish
Inter.
guys, Taza.
Yeah, Mateus Camille, Tarza, Chelsea is coming over from the UK, and Santeri because it's his
That's
gym. So
that's a solid lineup right there. That would
man,
be really cool.
there's like 10 tickets left. There's going to be I don't even know off the top of my head over 100 people there, 120 maybe 130. Be really good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Um, just going through still the sort of the best
Mm.
roundup, because after we've done the best of the best, I want to go into the sort of the worst, right? But two moments, best of the best for me. Did you see Andre Galvao losing his fucking mind with the referee during the Mika Galvao Lucas Hulk match?
Yes. Yes. It
When
was
he was
bizarre to me that they chose that exact moment to basically give the only, penalizing stalling call of the entire event, pretty much.
the
The
only
only
one,
one.
all events, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, it was incredible to see Andre Galvao lose his mind and screaming bullshit rookies
And
at the
Angelica as well.
referees. Oh yeah, I mean everybody on the Atos team. But what was really interesting was that point deduction cost Atos dearly because even though the result ended up getting decided with Bodoni's armbar against Ronaldo Jr., uh, that match was declared a draw because on the scorecards, Hulk
Mm.
was winning 10-9, but because he got a point deducted, the actual
Oh,
end result
shit.
was 9-9 for Hulk. So, yeah,
Yeah.
significant.
It was tough because, yeah, the there was so much on the line, and there were so many big personalities there that the officiating had to be kind of watertight, and I feel bad for those guys. I think everybody did a very good job, but they definitely missed the thing that made kept quintet moving, which was the shido, the
Yes. The
ultra
penalties.
strict, penalties. Like a fair play for um, applying that penalty then, but it felt very inconsistent compared to other matches that were going on. So I understand why he would be pissed off. It kind of felt personal.
I
Yeah.
100% agree with you. After an interminable amount of stalling on day one and
Yeah.
no stalling calls and very few warnings for inactivity, they chose that one match to seemingly make an example of the guy. It was the only penalty awarded the entire tournament. I felt there should have been others before and after, and it's very
Yeah.
unfortunate they happened there and
We
then. But yeah,
we
they should have
yeah,
had way more aggressive stalling calls.
way more. We took a team to so Team Polaris won the first quintet in Tokyo. Then they did another couple of events, and then they did one in Vegas, and they invited Team Polaris back. It might have been Quintet 4 or something. And we put together a really good team. And the first match that we had was Shaolin against PJ Barch. And I
Yes.
knew PJ was good because to me, like, I don't know if I was entirely accurate in this, but to me, he was like the weirdest mix of wrestling and 10th Planet because he could stand up and he could wrestle, and then he had like crazy subs. And I was a bit worried about that first match, but I thought this is Shaolin. This guy's an absolute legend. He is going to slice through this guy. And I don't know if you remember, but he got called for stalling like 5 times just trying to pass the guard.
Yeah.
And he was getting really pissed off, and it completely messed with his game plan. And then also, PJ's turns out is actually amazing, and
Yeah.
he armbarred him. But that was not how I was expecting it to go, and the penalties really influenced what happened. And then I've seen. I mean, the super fight there was Ishii versus Frank Mir, I think, and they fucking cancelled the match halfway through. There was like 3 stalling calls because they were just standing there, and they just went, right, that's it, get off. And then Ishii and Frank Mir were like, huh, that was it, match over. So you
I
need
think
calls like
we
that.
actually need some, yeah, we need more of that. It needs to keep the action going for sure. But, well, that lack of penalties goes in really well into sort of what could have been better about CJI too, because there were a few things for me that didn't live up to the hype. Number one was definitely the lack of scoring calls. Number two were some of the performances. And
Mm.
I don't want to throw all athletes under the bus, but there are two in
No,
particular that didn't
obviously we
really
respect all of them.
100%. But there were a couple of performances that didn't really live up to the hype. And the first one has to be Mika Galvao, right?
Yeah, I mean, for a guy that is basically a Terminator that, can destroy most people on the planet, I would have liked to have seen more, but I don't know. I think it's when the level is so high, people quite often cancel each other out, and then I don't know, like the sub only kind of doesn't encourage risk taking in a kind
Mm.
of backwards way, because
Why do you think
if
that
if
is?
you well, if you survive, then it's a win in a way because you've taken someone out. You know, I mean, nobody. What if you went out there and went crazy and lost? You've just lost potentially like $1 million for your teammates. I don't know. I feel like the pressure was not to lose rather than to win. I don't know. I don't know.
I think you're onto something for sure. So Mika had three matches. He had three double eliminations. The first was against DeAndre Corbe of Team USA.
Corbe was really good.
The
Yeah.
Yeah, the second was against Hulk, which we just spoke about when he got
Mm.
docked. And then the third match was against Chris Wojcik of B Team in the final. And all matches ended in double elimination. Mika didn't really have any moments where he was in a position to attack her in the match. So every match was very even. Sort of
Mm.
didn't nothing really substantial happened in any of the three matches on either side. And I think people, especially Craig in the lead up to this event, was saying, "Oh, Mika's the kind of guy that could run through a whole team by himself." And
Yeah.
he's that famous submission hunter, and he's really, really good. But then, I'm not sure if you saw on Instagram today, but he made a rather large announcement that
Right.
he and his fiancée, Amit Alor, I hope
Yeah.
I'm saying her name is correct, the Olympic gold medalist in this year's Olympics, are expecting a baby. And
Crikey.
they've been sitting on this news for a couple months. So I wonder if, with everything that's going on in his personal life, if that at all is a factor that maybe led into his not so hot performance. It's
Possibly.
just has to be asked, right? You just don't know. I think but sometimes though, there's just that thing about you put so much pressure on somebody, expectations are so high, it doesn't always
To
work
me, I
like that,
feel
does it?
like it's the pressure. Yeah, the biggest stage that we've seen for a long time, the biggest prize money, the most kind of not I wouldn't say prestige, but mind you, he was Team New Wave, yeah. So it wasn't like he was defending like Team Melky Galvao,
Still defending the
Uh,
shot at $1 million though. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. In my opinion, it wasn't set up to um, get the most exciting performances out of people, and I don't think something with that level of like attention and prize money will get the most out of people because the temptation not to lose or not to do anything dumb is so strong.
and you see that in every event. That's
Yeah,
the interesting thing. There's like a reverse correlation.
yeah,
The higher the stakes, the less people are willing to risk. And
yeah,
whether it is the ADCC final, IBJJF World Championship final, CJI with $1 million on the line, the hardest fought matches and the ones with the most action and often the most entertaining happen in smaller events, in, let's say, earlier rounds in the tournament. It's
yeah, yeah.
really, those highlight reel moments really happen in those crucial moments where the smallest mistake can cost you dearly, right?
Yeah, and I don't even think. I mean, I don't even think that's too much of a bad thing, because it makes the special moments even more special. Like it's a weird balance. So I'm just trying to think of the analogy. So like, not every football match is an absolute bang out, like 7-0. There's loads of 0-0 draws, 1-1, slow matches. Even the finals are some of the biggest games are like that.
Yeah.
But then every now and then, a match will happen that is like has everybody talking because it was so crazy, and I feel like jiu-jitsu is no different in that way. Like it goes back to the kind of insane level of entitledness and that the jiu-jitsu community has, where they just want everyone to be like backflipping into arm bars every 10 seconds. It's just not going to happen.
Well, also, maybe as Europeans, we're used to seeing matches end 0-0 through soccer, whereas Americans are
Yeah,
disappointed if there isn't a point scored every 3 seconds because they're
yeah.
watching sports where, there's literally
Basketball's
like
like,
120 points scored in the game,
yeah,
right? So if it isn't that constant dopamine rush of a goal
yeah.
or whatever, then yeah, they're not used to it.
But I mean,
But anyway,
that could also be a drawback of the really long show format because like your patience is wearing thin. You know,
people watch
yeah.
cricket for
I
3 days in a row, though.
just
You
never
know,
watch it.
I've never seen one. Apparently, baseball goes
Yeah,
on forever as well. People watch that.
but
So yeah,
cricket introduced a new. I don't watch cricket either, but someone was telling me there's some new format. I forget what it's called, but it's like fast cricket, and it takes
yeah,
like
I
a
think it's
day
like
or
20 runs or something like that. It's
something
all
like
meant to
that.
be about sort of like a short, sort of like
Just
there's something that's basically packaged for TV. It can
yeah,
be watched in a couple of hours as opposed to be a test match, which is 3 days long or something. Yeah.
yeah. I still feel like we're jiu-jitsu is just still trying to find the best way to do things. Like we're not quite there yet with the structure of the sport. I mean, IBJJF knows exactly what they're doing. That's sorted. That's fine. The amateur side is all taken care of. The professional side is still changing and learning. I mean, I'm sick of hearing that jiu-jitsu will never be a spectator sport. Literally, nearly 3 million people watching CJI at the weekend. That's bonkers
That's
amount
pretty
of
big.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will
it is a spectator sport. It's
I
just
will
not quite
respond to what you
finished.
said though about the the rules and such. I actually like the fact that there are no unified rules in jiu-jitsu. In amateur tournament, sort of for the average hobbyist and stuff, pretty much the IBJJF style rules are the de facto unified rules because nearly every federation out there uses that as a basis and maybe with some tweaks, or if not, just
Yeah,
copying it completely. Whereas with professional jiu-jitsu and professional grappling, I should say, there are so many different rule formats, whether it is submission only, whether it is points, whether it's got overtime, whether it hasn't, whether it's hybrid rules, whether it's ADCC rules, whether it's this, that, or the other, whether it's rounds, whether it's one
mm,
unbroken 15-minute match. There's just
mm,
so much variety. And I actually
mm.
think that's a great thing because there is no unified rule set, which means that every event is in a unique position to tweak and to experiment with rules that however they see fit.
Yeah,
And they often result in very different matches. Like, for example, the CGI one showed that 3 5-minute rounds are actually really, really good. So much
yeah,
so that they're not the only event using them nowadays, right?
yeah.
And I think that other people have kind of seen the thing. Before that, people were sort of just totally against the idea of rounds in jiu-jitsu. Oh no, it's got to be a 15-minute match or a 30-minute
Mm,
match or time. And personally, having seen many 10, 15, and a 30-minute and even longer, submission only matches, I can tell you that those are not pleasant experiences for
no.
anybody involved, let alone the spectators. So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to get at is that personally, as a fan, as a spectator, and somebody who's involved in the sport of jiu-jitsu, I like the ability that the events are able to just write their own rule books.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely a strength that, and yeah, we've done it multiple times. Maybe if there is one that suddenly works amazingly, it will become the universal rule set, but we're not there yet.
But you've written and rewritten that rule book how many times in the last 10 years?
Yeah, loads, loads. I mean, we started off with 15-minute sub-only matches, and then it was probably Edwin Najmi that like set off a little thing in my head where we interviewed him after the match. I think he beat Munch. Um, and
Manchikara.
he, yeah, Manchikara, and he basically said, guys, fuck these 15-minute matches. He was like, no one is giving it 100% for 15 minutes unless you're like roided out of your brain. He said that in the post-match interview. It was like, actually, yeah, that kind of explains why, like, about halfway through every match, you look around, the athletes aren't really doing much. The crowd is like murmuring. It's just not exciting. And then we reduced it to 10. And then after CJI, we were like, no, it's 3 5-minute rounds. That is the one.
Mm.
I don't know if you noticed, we do a preliminary, we do 2 5-minute rounds with open scoring. And then if it's a round apiece, then it goes straight into a 3-minute overtime and it's all decided in that. So that is a little sort of quirk that we added in. But that worked perfectly because it keeps the crowd engaged the whole match. So when previously it might have been 10 or 15 minutes, it would have been 10 minutes without a break. Let's say 6, 7, 8 minutes in, the guys are getting tired, the crowd is getting a little bit bored. The matches would lose, people would lose interest. But now, after 5 minutes, everybody wants to know who's won the first round. And the athletes their gas tank is fine. They have a little break. Then there's another 5 minutes. Their gas tank is fine. It's all action. Then the crowd wants to know who's won the second one. So they're engaged at all points, during the match. And then if there's an overtime, the crowd's like, holy shit, this is going to be 3 minutes of people spamming takedowns and trying to kill each other. It's fucking brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really pleased. One of the best changes we've ever done.
I will say this. Up until about 2 years ago, I was firmly against the idea of rounds in jiu-jitsu matches. I just did not see the point. And it wasn't until I saw them in action that I was immediately converted. I remember the
Yep.
first event that I went to that used rounds was AIGA, the event out of Kazakhstan, and they have
Mm-hmm.
3 5-minute rounds, but they have points. It's a little bit of an ADCC hybrid, but the fact that they have 3 5-minute rounds for me at first was strange. And then what I saw was really interesting because if you have a shitty 5-minute round, you get a break and you get a do-over. Now, if you have a shitty 10-minute match or a shitty 15-minute match, you're in, you're locked in, and there's no getting out of that. It's going to be shitty from
Yeah.
start to finish. But when you have that 1 minute break, you have a mental reset as a spectator. The athletes
Mm-hmm.
have a reset to come back in and to
Mm-hmm.
do something different. And
Mm-hmm.
I saw that happen. I mean, I saw many matches where it just played out round by round. It was shitty from start to finish. But there was always that hope that this round will be different. And it often was. And it often was. And then it became more exciting. And you had, in effect, a 3 5-minute match became sort of 3 5-minute matches almost
Yeah,
because
yeah.
each
Internal,
round
yeah.
was very, very different. Yeah. And I've seen it now, the rounds, AIGA uses rounds, ADXC uses rounds. They're much shorter. I think they should be longer. They're only 3 minutes, which is way too
It's
short.
probably too
Yeah.
short, yeah.
CJI used the 3 5-minute rounds. You guys switched to the 3 5-minute rounds. I'd like to see more. I would genuinely like to see more events adopt a round based structure for their matches. I think it is a very
I think
smart
rounds can stay
answer.
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, during the pandemic, we spent a lot of time, me and Ben, one of the other guys at Scramble and at Polaris, we were like meeting for coffee every week and discussing sports and like Polaris rules and things. And I was watching tons of American football because it's such an incredible spectator sport. But we sort of gradually started to realize that it's because there's so many things going on. There's so many like little breaks in the action. There's so many points to keep your interest. So I feel like if you're making a sports broadcast, you need to go from one point to the next, to the next, to the next. And if you have a 15-minute unbroken match, it's just boring.
Yeah.
It is just boring. And yeah, you need to separate it out. You need to keep bringing people's attention back for whatever reason. Yeah, I mean, we redesigned the team rules at that point because I was looking at American football. I still don't understand the rules, but I know that they stop it all the time. They bring the team in, they change the tactic, then they go back out. They do like 20 seconds of play, and they come back in again, change the tactics again. It's just so engaging.
That is
Yeah.
interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah. I don't watch American football. Never have. Never will
I
understand
just
it.
watched the
But
Netflix stuff, the documentaries.
uh, but I agree with you though that from the broadcast perspective, because that's the way I
Yeah.
always think about it. Because I'm in the position of a commentator. Number
Mm.
one, I love breaks. They help me out a lot. I'd much rather
Yeah.
have a break than doing a 8 hour show with no break whatsoever. Those breaks are as good for us as anything else. But you're right. You must, on a purely technical level, you must have breaks to be able to plug certain things in, whether it is
Yeah.
commercials or whether it is backstage stuff or interviews or segments. There's so
Yeah.
much you
Yeah.
need to do, and those long unbroken matches don't give you any opportunity to do so because the moment that you put something up over something that's happening, you can guarantee that something will happen and you're obscuring it and people will lose their shit because you've just spoiled that moment. So it
Yeah, definitely.
happens all the time. But
Yeah.
let's talk about some interesting sort of behind the scenes gossip
Go on then.
from the last CJI. Well, number one was the whole talk about UFC fucking with CJI too, and I think it's pretty clear to say that at this point that it seems to have been the case. There's no love lost between them because uh, Craig was, as usual, on social media, quite aggressive towards UFC. Took many shots specifically at Claudia Gadelha, who is, one of the kind of the people leading up the UFC BJJ thing.
Mm.
And he was saying that UFC ripped our rules, you stole the octoball design, this, that, and the other. And then he was blowing up, effigies of Dana White with rocket launchers while in the Ukraine. So Craig was doing what Craig does, but
Hmm.
behind the scenes, UFC definitely responded. And one of the things that they absolutely did, which is, 100% fact, was that they blocked referees, judges, and even ringside physicians, even medical
Yeah.
personnel from working at this event because
Hmm.
they were the ones who did it at the last CGI, but they basically said, if you want to do it at this one, then you're not coming back to UFC, basically.
Hmm.
What do you think about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I heard similar things. I know, I think Miha was basically given an ultimatum. I don't know. I can't say too much because we're still broadcast by UFC Fight Pass for the next two events. So, but there was definitely some um, interactions between the two organizations. I don't know. Like, I just never want to get on Craig's bad side because he's pretty relentless. Um,
And I think after that, you don't want to get on the UFC's bad side either, because you
no,
can see how
no.
spiteful and how they can become as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, speaking plainly, I feel like, and even the guys at Fight Pass told us as much, like they identified jiu-jitsu as a growth market, right? And I'm sure that the fact that Polaris has been putting out quality shows for like 8 years on the Fight Pass platform, we must be one of the main reasons why they've identified us as the sport as a growth market. We because the audience is predominantly an MMA audience, we always made sure to try to cater to some of those guys, or at least like ease the transition, for the viewer. So we've had Uriah Faber, we've had Luke Rockhold, we've had Michael Venom Page, and we've consistently pulled in some of the best viewership they've ever had on the platform. Like they told us as much. They never gave us numbers, but they also always give us like relative performance, and it's always
And they
really
won't
high.
give numbers.
No, no, closely guarded secret. So, but the relative performance is really high. Like, we would, if we, I don't know, Uriah Faber, for example, was probably the most watched thing on Fight Pass, apart from the UFC at that time, which is
Mm.
crazy. It's a jiu-jitsu event. So we were feeling like, we've done this big positive contribution to the sport, but now they're doing their own thing. It's kind of like, our choice was either be second fiddle or, whatever else. We don't really feel like that. So I don't know.
It seems
They're,
strange if
they're
they
in.
identified jiu-jitsu as such a growth opportunity that they would limit their offering on their streaming platform to basically only UFC BJJ, EBI, and what, Fury Grappling, which I guess is still there as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's
And they
probably
would elect not to renew their contract with Polaris, which has been going for a solid decade and is one of the, as you say, one of the better known grappling properties.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's probably the things that we should talk about and things that we shouldn't talk about. But like from a purely business point of view, I can understand why, if they let's say they have a budget and they want to develop a market, they just develop their own thing with their own name on it. You know, um, I will say that I don't know if they're quite prepared for the level of I don't want to use any offensive words, strangeness of the jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that's
There's
one thing.
definitely
It's a
some
very strange
peculiarities,
sport.
right?
Yeah, very, very strange. That's one thing. And gosh, what else was I going to say?
Come on, they've got
Um,
had Mikey on. They know how peculiar jiu-jitsu can be,
I
surely.
think they're getting a feel for it. Yeah, I imagine them bringing it to Dana and Dana going, "Ugh, like, what is this? You know, basically the guy running Fight Pass is also the guy running the show. So I feel like they're two different hats that he has to wear. And there's one, if it was just Fight Pass, there might be some different decisions, but the fact that you're also running your own show probably influence decisions that you make about other shows on the platform. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
fair point. Fair point. About UFC BJJ, I mean, some people have really strong opinions about it, and there's been a lot of talk, people, especially about the exclusive contracts and how it's bad for jiu-jitsu. I don't think it's bad for jiu-jitsu. I really don't. I actually think it's great for jiu-jitsu because if UFC are aligning themselves with jiu-jitsu and grappling and they're investing in it, number one, they're giving opportunities to athletes to compete for them. They are paying. I don't know how much they're paying, but they've got to be paying something. They're not doing it for free. You know,
The A
some of those
sides are getting
athletes,
good pay. Yeah.
well, some of those athletes they're going to have made good money elsewhere. They're not going to do it for less than that for the UFC, right? There's just no way. So, of course, there's always guys who do well, and then there's going to be the undercard guys who aren't getting paid as well, but it's still probably as much, or if not a little bit more than they would have got anywhere else. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. I think it's great because UFC does have a very strong brand name, and while MMA fans in general seem quite um, sort of, let's say, they find jiu-jitsu distasteful, they prefer striking, and when it comes to
Yeah.
watching mixed martial arts, there is a healthy amount of people who do like the grappling aspect, and I do think that what we'll see is hopefully more people starting to train jujitsu as a result of the UFC being aligned with it. Because, you know, few people will walk into a jujitsu gym saying, I want to train MMA, I want to train UFC nowadays. But if they're starting to push jujitsu, then I just think it's another section of the audience that will hopefully get funneled into a jujitsu academy. You know, so they've
Yeah. I think it's a net
that's a good
positive.
thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that's my feeling. At the end of the day, as well, I'm purely selfish as a fan of jujitsu. I'm not mad about having more cool jujitsu stuff to
Yeah.
watch. You know,
I
I
love
think
watching
it's a good
events. I
thing.
love watching jiu-jitsu events. I would watch them every weekend. I prefer that to MMA now. I haven't watched a UFC for a long time, but I will
Yeah.
watch all the jiu-jitsu that comes out.
Do I think it's a perfect
Um,
event? No, but they've only done two. So they've got
yeah,
plenty of time to play with the format and to dial it in. And I'm
yeah,
excited to see where that will go. You know, they said that they've got what is it, a 3 year plan, I think, 3 year plan. So
sounds
plenty
about
of time
right.
to work it out. So let's see. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah. I want to just quickly going back to the exclusive contracts thing because Craig was online saying exclusive contracts terrible idea. So naturally, like every person on Instagram is like contracts bad. Craig said contracts bad.
Are
There
they
are
though?
positives. Yeah. So like for example, um, we had Fion headlining the European squads team, and then we had Helena headlining the North American squads team. So excited for the possibility that these two might compete. They were both super up for it. Um, Fion fought on the UFC event a few weeks before and got a foot busted. And so she pulled out of the show. That would not have happened if it was an exclusive contract because, you know, with the exclusivity, we could have been safe in the knowledge that she's not going to go somewhere else and gut out a submission and get a leg broken. You know, we could have been promoting it. and then made the most of it. So that was one example where an exclusive contract would have helped us. I'm only using that as an example. Like a Fionn can command a good fee wherever she goes, and it wouldn't make sense for her to sign any kind of exclusivity unless it was massively beneficial for her. But that is an example of why you might have an exclusive contract, so that you have some guarantee that your athlete's not going to go somewhere else and get their shit snapped.
Yeah, absolutely. Contracts are there for a reason, and it's a very small percentage of the people who are actually on UFC BJJ who have exclusive contracts. As far as I've heard,
Yep.
it's the champions and
Yep.
maybe only a handful of other people, like one or two other people. But yeah, but some
Yeah.
more gossip from behind the scenes of CJI. You heard about Nicky Rod and his health issues?
Not until afterwards, when I saw the staph on his knee.
Right. So I heard about this on the Friday at the weigh-ins, or the Thursday, possibly even the day before. And somebody comes up to me and they're like, "Have you heard about Nicky Rod?" And I'm like, "No." And he's out. And I was like,
Oh shit.
"Are you sure about that?" And they said, "Yeah, Roberto's going to replace him, Roberto Jimenez." And I'm like, wow. Okay. Well, number one, I haven't heard anything about that. And number two, I saw Nicky Rod very recently, like within the last couple of hours. And it didn't look like he was out to me. Like he's walking around healthy, happy, talking, like everything seems absolutely fine. Friday, after the weigh-ins, I managed to get somebody who actually knows those guys, not just has heard something through the grapevine. I'm like, hey, was something going on with the team? Did we almost have a pullout? And they said, yeah. So Friday, they told me that Nicky Rod had staph really bad and was in the urgent care, which is kind of not like a emergency room, but kind of, but it's like it's where you go when you're ill and you need immediate treatment in America. So he went to urgent care and got pumped full of IV antibiotics and stuff. But apparently he was in a bad way. Apparently when he
Oh
flew
no.
to Las Vegas, he landed, his leg was huge and swollen. He had a fever. He was shaking uncontrollably. And they immediately, whisked him to the urgent care and got him taken care of.
Mm.
But he himself said it after day one. He said it at the end of day one when he got interviewed. But I'd heard about it on Friday. I thought, oh shit. I mean, like, that's the kind of thing that can severely affect anybody's performance. Because
Yes, of course.
everybody knows you get a strong dose of antibiotics, it
It wrecks you.
wrecks your cardio. Yeah. Like you go out and try to compete, you have no strength, you have no cardio, you just feel like absolute shit. And he went out
And
and
you said that was just a few days before.
this was like Tuesday, Wednesday. He, weighed in on Friday. He had to cut weight as well. Cut weight, weighed in on Friday, and competed on Saturday. And then,
Savage.
had a match, submitted Brandon Reed, and then he got thrown around a little bit by Michael Pixley. I think it started to catch up with him then, but then
Oh
came back
yeah,
out and
that's right.
he was the closer on, for against New Wave in the final, right? Who did Nicky Rod go up against again? It was, in the final, it was Luke Griffith, of course. Yeah, he managed to get Luke Griffith in the final match of the series and get the 10-8,
Yeah.
and then that's what
Yeah,
got
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
whole decision to beat
Yeah, that's
team.
what I
So
thought. It was the last match, yeah.
yeah, so incredible, right? Just gritted
I
his
mean,
teeth
that
and
Craig
powered through.
probably would have jumped into the Grand Canyon at that point, I think, if Nicky Rod had pulled out, yeah.
Honestly, I mean, yeah, you lose the $1 million grappler from the show. That's gonna fucking suck. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been mad to see Roberto on that lineup. That would have been
Roberto would have
crazy.
been really good.
Yeah, could
Um,
have done some damage.
he's a
Or
wild
one,
card for sure. He's a wild
yeah.
card in negotiations as well.
Yeah, they tried to get him on CJI too
Yeah.
on one of the Misfits teams, and Roberto's response was, "No, I want to have my own team. I'm going to bring in a bunch of guys you've never heard of before, but they're sick." And they were
Yeah.
like, "That's not how it works, Roberto."
Yeah.
So he just decided to go to Morocco. I think he was surfing there instead. So
Nothing
that's
about that
Roberto
guy
for you.
surprises me.
Yeah, he's wild.
Like an incredible
Um,
grappler, though.
really is, really is. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
As the co-founder, and chief designer for Scramble, what did you make of the team kits that they were wearing at CJI too?
I'm a fan of Street X. I am a big fan. I remember at CJI one, I was like, oh, I'm going to pick up a little bit of Street X. That'll be cool. And went and had a look, and there was like
Sold out.
47,000 people queuing up like a snake around the entire arena. And I was like, huh,
Yep.
guess I won't be picking up any kit then.
It's popular
Um,
stuff.
yeah, I thought they were good. Like, I don't know how much I should say. Like, I look from a technical standpoint, some of the fits were a bit weird. But it's very difficult to cater to every body type making a garment. And then I think I liked them all. I didn't like the B team one. That was an ugly
Ah,
camo.
well, you weren't the only one. You know who didn't like it?
The B
Joseph
team?
Chen didn't like it.
Really?
Oh my God, he talked so much shit about it when he got his hands on it because
It was
everybody
ugly. It was
arrived
ugly.
and you get your little bag, your check-in bag with multiple rash guards to compete in over the weekend.
I can
And
imagine
he,
Joseph being like, "What is this?"
oh yeah, he was just like, it's not even good camo. What the fuck is this? Like,
Yeah.
number one, he hates camo, and number two, he hated the logo, and he talked so much. I think he was still
Mm,
cutting weight, so he was probably,
pretty
hungry,
grumpy.
but he talked so much shit about it. The rest of the guys didn't seem to mind. They didn't seem to mind. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the design, I wasn't a huge fan, but it looked better when they were wearing it. And I think that it worked a bit better. Uh,
I'm just
when I
not a fan of
saw,
that multicam. Mm,
yeah, I guess, yeah, digital camo style. When I saw all the designs originally, I wasn't that impressed. Like I just saw, the sort of the layouts, like the designs of the actual kit, and I was like, okay, whatever. When the guys put them on, and I saw everybody like lined up together as a team, it changed my mind. I was like, no, that's
yeah.
actually kind of cool. For me, my favorite one by far was the Australasia team, the green and gold. I thought that
Yes.
was really, really
It
sick.
had stripes coming up it,
Yeah,
or
kind of
like
like
faded lines. Yeah, yeah.
vertical sort of stripes on the back into a kind of a shoulder pad or something. Yeah, it was, I just thought the green and gold was a really strong look. And,
It was
of all the
nice.
designs that they had, it was cool. Yeah.
It was like from a purely brand perspective, it wasn't great for Scramble. And I know, like, for example, Tatami were not happy either. And I'm sure every other brand that pays these athletes money to wear their goods were not happy because it was like a huge event, huge opportunity to get loads of good media and photography. And none of us benefited from it whatsoever. So,
And the same thing happens at events like AIGA as well, right? When they all have to wear a team kit
yeah,
designed by another brand, so you lose out. But I guess that's
I
the
guess
problem with team events, right? Because
we
otherwise,
do
if you
that for
had
Polaris
five,
as well.
well, there you go. Yeah, it's a problem with a team. Somebody's got to make the team kit, and you can't
Mm.
share it between you and other brands, I guess, right?
Well, at Polaris, you're allowed to wear whatever shorts you want. And
Ah,
when you walk out, you're wearing your brand. So, but yeah,
that's a
I
nice get
guess,
out. Throw them a
yeah,
solid.
yeah.
Speaking of scramble athletes, you had Kenta, Declan Moody, Ethan. Who else did you have?
Declan
Was
is
that
no
it?
longer with Scramble.
Oops, sorry,
That's all
boss.
right. It happened quite a while ago. I think he's wearing Al Leone now. Not that you'd be able to
Oh,
tell
probably.
watching watching CJI. You have put me on the spot. I think that was it.
Yeah, just Kenta and Ethan, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Kenta did amazing. Ethan had
he
tough
did.
matches. Ethan had tough matches.
I mean, he had Declan in the
Yeah,
round against Australasia,
he was
66 going up
massive.
against the over 99, and he got
Mm.
hucked around and abused a bit, but he didn't get tapped. That's
No,
big, and that obviously helped a lot for the team. And then his
was it
next match, he had
Dorian?
to go. It was Dorian, yeah,
Yeah, he
and
did
he did
bust his
better
rib out.
against Dorian. He did, like that close guard, scooping the ankle, kind of like a
Yeah,
Z-lock action. It looked nasty,
yeah,
right?
very. Yeah. Yeah, tough outings. I guess that's the way that's the unpredictability of teams.
Yeah,
He could have been matched up against someone completely different and had an absolutely stonking performance. So,
yeah. You never know who you're going to run into. So, in conclusion, because we've been going a little while, I think
hmm
I wrote a couple of sort of questions just to wrap up here. And number one, these are questions for myself as much as you. Um, was it as good as CJI one? My opinion is yes, but it was different because you can never recapture the magic of the first time of
No, it was a
having the
difficult
CJI.
second album.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, because lightning really strikes twice, and
Yeah.
it was never going to be the same thrill of seeing that moment when somebody gets that $1 million briefcase kind of put in their hands and stuff. But it was different, and it was still entertaining, and it was still dramatic. Yes, there was some teething problems with the teams and stuff, but as a standalone event, not comparing it to anything else, it was sick. I loved it. I really did, you know. I'll be honest, the first day was definitely a bit tough with some of the stalling or lack of stalling
Mm.
calls and such. But overall, when I appreciate the whole thing, it
Yeah.
was, as I said earlier, a landmark moment in jiu-jitsu for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. CGI one was probably more special in my opinion, probably because I was there, and I had good seats, and I felt really involved in the whole thing. And there was loads of us there, from here, and also it had a good foil. Like it had a good storyline with ADCC. This time
Yeah,
it had to stand on its own. I think I probably would have a slightly different opinion if I hadn't read so much online, like so many people complaining. And
kind of
if I
tainted
just
it a
watched
little
the
bit,
event,
right?
I would have
Tainted
been
the
like that. Yeah,
experience.
that
Yeah,
was friggin' amazing.
yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch it, or parts of it anyway, not all like 14 hours of it. I think it was an amazing event, but I have a slightly different, and so do you, a different viewpoint. We're not just the punter watching it. There's like
Right.
a lot of analysis going on and comparisons and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it was an important event, but it definitely had its
Ups and downs.
yeah, 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 yeah. But
Yeah,
mad
I agree.
respect to the guys and girls for pulling it off.
Oh, the effort and the work that the team put into making that event happen. Just, I don't think many people would even begin to appreciate how much work goes into something like that. But then,
Yeah.
um, another question in conclusion for me was the hybrid CJI twist on the quintet rule format the right move? And I'm wondering whether regular old quintet would have been better, or even a straight duel like Aiga style, where it's just 66 versus 66, 77 versus 77, 88 versus 88 in a random draw of weights. Do you feel that the CGI 2 twist with the mystery reveals and such, do you think it worked?
No.
Really?
Like I said, that although Craig kind of leapfrogged us in terms of reach and everything like that, I think that we're way ahead in terms of the rules because we've done 32 or 33 events, so we know
When you say we, you mean
Polaris.
specifically squads for Polaris.
Polaris in terms of squads. Like if I
Right.
if I can quickly summarize our rules, so we have 5 minute matches, so it's short. Reasoning is submissions are not the only thing that is exciting in jiu-jitsu. Throws, passes, sweeps, all exciting. Every round has to have a winner, because we got sick of seeing draws, just like everybody at the weekend got sick of seeing draws. Um, it's two 45-minute halves and you fight continuously. So, one of the worst things, actually, I mean, it's cool in a way, but it's not cool. If one guy takes out the whole team, it's cool, but it's also fucking weird because there's four guys that you've brought out, they've trained like crazy, and they don't do anything the whole weekend. That's not my favorite way of doing things. We have stalling calls. We have something called the stalemate rule. So even if you're in a dominant position, you can be called for stalling, and that's just the way it is because it's entertainment and not. It's not the IBJJF World Championship. It's not about finding who's the best at jiu-jitsu. It's who's the most entertaining. And what else have we got? I think that's about it. So yeah, we've experienced the limitations of that format already, like multiple shows ago, which is why I kind of had a feeling that it might go wrong. Craig definitely sold it to us, and I was excited about it. But then seeing it play out, I was like, oh yeah, yeah. Now I remember why we don't do sub only, why we don't do, this match length, everything like that. So I think like it had the potential to be fucking incredible. Like I'm not talking about the event itself. I'm talking about that rule set. It has the
Right.
potential to be amazing, but it also has a lot of ways it can fall down. And unfortunately, we saw some of that happening with all the draws.
Hmm. People stalling,
Yeah,
like you say, fighting not to lose as opposed to in search of to
yeah.
win.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Whereas
when
the
we did
squads
squads
seem
last
to
time,
you have to fight to win. Yeah.
yeah, we had the women's one, which was phenomenal. It was just action from start to finish. And then before that, we did the men's one under these like even newer rules. And PJ Barch on the Friday sort of came up to us and he was like, "There's a winner in every match." And we were like, "Yeah." He's like, "So I'm probably going to lose at some point." We're like, "Yeah, probably." He was like, "Fuck!" Like he didn't realize. But you might not get a sub in that 5 minutes. You might not even get a sub in the next 5 minutes. But there's no way a guy can go 15 minutes with fresh partners and not get finished. So although 5 minutes is short to set up a submission and do it, overall it leads towards like a submission.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. I personally, and I'm not just saying this, because we're friends. So I genuinely like the Polaris squads rules, and as entertainment goes, it's one of the best there is
Mm,
in jiu-jitsu. And I've really become a big fan of team jiu-jitsu over the last couple of years as well. I was always a
yeah,
fan of quintet, even more so after going there myself in Tokyo at the end of 2023. I'm
yeah,
a big fan of the Aiga style. I like the duels where it's just actual weight versus weight as well. I think that's a really exciting format. But the Polaris squads, in terms of like the actual entertainment of it as well, is just so good. I mean, one of my favorite Polaris squads events of all time was from a few years ago when you had South America stroke
Brazil.
Brazil against USA. And that was
Yeah,
just
it's crazy.
such a that it was a crazy event with amazing matches and just so much kind of
Mm,
like every time what you want as an event promoter or as an event producer, or what you need is those holy shit moments, and you just had so many holy shit moments during that
yeah,
particular event. And I've
we
always
were
told
very
people,
lucky.
if you like team jiu-jitsu, go watch squads. It's so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. And then we also
And
caught
then
Mika, Fabrizio Andre, and Baby Shark just at the kind of they beginning their peak of popularity. So yeah, we did really well
that's
there.
right, when they were still on the same team.
Mm,
Um, Another takeaway, just in conclusion for CJI 2, was it was some really, really good jujitsu to study, like on a
hmm
technical level. Like there was some amazing stuff. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I go, Dorian's passing was really, really good. Um, Taylor Pierman, Gavin
Guard
Corvey, Owen
retention and
Jones, Max Hansen. Yeah, great guard retention. Felipe Pena did some really interesting stuff from top against Luke Griffith. Somebody posted a clip on Instagram, and he's kind of basically in top side control, kind of trying to dig a near side underhook. And he
hmm
hides his own arm behind his back like this, and baits Luke to reach up and away to grab it, and opens the space to slide in the underhook. And
with
it's
a
just
regular
little
underhook.
things. Yeah, but near side underhook.
Mm.
And it was just little things
Oh.
like that that just really make you go, wow,
Mm.
it was really, really cool. So that's one of the things I like most, is going back and watching all the funky jujitsu techniques that we saw.
Yeah, I need to do more of that and get better at jiu-jitsu.
Don't we all? Yeah. And then kind of the big overhanging question about all this, and we don't know the answer, is there going to be a CJI 3?
Honestly, man, right now, if I was Craig, I wouldn't do it. I just feel like the jiu-jitsu community doesn't deserve all that again.
And isn't that
Yeah,
sad? I
it is a
think
bit.
PJ Barch was the guy who put it best.
Yeah.
There were many people who came to the defense of CJI over the weekend, but he particularly had a very well written kind of
hmm
piece about how he feels about it. And I, I just can't help but think that he's right. But at the same time, it's always the noisiest fans, like the ones who complain the most. They're always in such a minority. And
Mm.
I've I've heard this before. People have said it to me. I've thought to myself, if you look at online comments, especially on Reddit, it is not truly reflective of the jiu-jitsu community that we know. And the
No, no.
people who don't post are the ones who you talk to them and say, yeah, it was a fucking great event. I loved it. But
Yeah.
the ones who want to win imaginary internet points are the ones out there talking shit and saying, oh, the event sucked. I
Yeah,
just,
it's the double-edged sword
yeah,
of doing everything through social media. You know,
yeah,
you could,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we
mm,
definitely need to be grateful of the event. It was huge, and it was a big weekend for Jiu-Jitsu. The Masters World's going on at the same time in
mm,
Las Vegas with 13,000 competitors and probably
that's
20,000
wild.
people at that Jiu-Jitsu con. Jiu-Jitsu is growing, so
Craig
it'd
Craig
be
lost
nice if people could help that.
2 million bucks, and IBJJF probably made about 10 million. So yeah, awesome.
Oh, yeah, they made a lot of money from that event, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, listen, I think that's probably a good time to wrap up this very first episode and
very
hopefully
good,
the
very
first of
good.
many. Unknown
Yeah,
Precious.
man.
And there's always going to be a lot of stuff to talk about, but you've got a big event coming up really soon. Hopefully we can do something after that one, right?
Yeah, would we be able to do something before? No, it might be a bit busy. But yeah, Polaris squad, South America versus Australasia, Oceania, September 13th on Fight Pass. Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun. You've got some good athletes on
Mm.
that one too, right?
Yeah, I mean, Kenta's coming over. He just had a crazy performance. Loads of other people, but my mind is turned to mush at this point. So
Yeah, you don't want to start naming them because you'll miss people out and that always
yeah,
sucks. So, well, that's September 13th, and people can watch it on UFC Fight Pass, and that'll be fun. I think there'll be some good breakdown stuff out of that too. And actually, mate,
yeah,
your
looking.
ADCC trials is coming up this weekend, so we should probably talk about that one.
Yes,
Ooh,
yeah. Oh, maybe we can do something post that. Yeah, we've got a lot of Scramble athletes there and a lot of Polaris alumni. So yeah,
nice.
maybe we can wrap up both in the next one.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for this week's episode. Maybe we'll have another one next week, maybe not, but thanks for joining us.